that guy that's across from you, he's not playing around. This is
Yeah.
not a game to him. He's coming here to, cause, physical harm to you. Dude, my first time with Randy Couture, like, Randy was throwing my ass around.
Who was the best quarterback you played against?
People gonna think I'm hating, right? And I'm not. But I think Peyton Manning was the best quarterback.
Over Brady?
Over Brady.
Welcome back to the Digital Social Hour, guys. I'm your host, Sean Kelly, here with an awesome guest for you guys today, Shawne Merriman. How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
Can't complain, man. What you been up to?
Too much. Too much. No, things are good, man. Obviously, being in the fight business and stuff now, and being in the insurance business, like for me, man, I got to stay active.
Yeah.
I like to stay active. But things been great, man. Post career, things been great.
See, you transitioned well, because it seems like a lot of pro athletes, after they retire, they seem kind of lost for a bit, right?
Yeah, but no matter what, even me, when I retired at the end of 2013, I got straight into TV, right? I went to NFL Network and I was doing the broadcasting thing, but it didn't feel right? It didn't feel normal. And so whenever I talk to athletes now, I say, look, figure out what you want to do while you're playing and then do it as soon as you're done.
Right.
Because that first year is a struggle for anybody, because the locker room is gone, the camaraderie, the regimen, your schedule, being able to compete and watch film, and like all these things are gone that you've been doing since most of us were like 10 or 11 years old.
Right.
And so you're going to go through that transition no matter what.
So when you got into broadcasting, you were like, man, I wish I was on the field.
Dude, what was the hardest thing for me to be in the broadcasting booth was saying something negative about the players, right? Like if a guy was in a certain coverage and you knew that he blew his coverage, right? You didn't want to call him out because, in the locker room, man, you're like, hey, we don't do that.
Yeah.
But, I had to get comfortable with, especially guys that I knew, right? Somebody's supposed to be in cover 3 and they blew it. You're like, hey, you got to call it out, because that's what the audience and the people watching want to hear.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned when you retired, some people thought you retired pretty early. Was that like a decision you wanted to make?
Yeah, man. For me, when I started having the back-to-back injuries and I couldn't stay healthy, and then I finally got healthy. But even when you're healthy, you've already had those injuries before, so you can never get back to where you were.
Mentally, right?
No, physically.
Oh, physically.
So mentally, I was fine.
Okay.
But the physical aspect of it is that my body could continue to do what I wanted it to do, right? Perform at a high level. And even my last year with the Buffalo Bills, they asked me to come back another year, because I finished a year strong. And they were like, hey, man, we want you back. We want to sign you to another deal. And I knew in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm done. I'm just done. I was already ready to do that next thing.
Right.
I was ready. But in the other side of it, when I talk to players, I tell them, I say, dude, play until your legs fall off, right? Like, play until they literally force you out of there, because it really is, man. It's like it's an honor to get a chance to play on that level. Yeah. And it's a dream come true, and you don't want to walk away with any regrets.
Right. Leave it all out.
You got to leave it all out there, because when you're done, that's it. There's no going back. And I was ready to be done.
Mentally, you were checked out.
I was checked out, man. I had TV lined up. I had stuff with lights out. At one point I was training to fight as well. I was working with the WWE. Yeah. I was over the WWE Network, and I hosted the WWE the WrestleMania. Yeah. When it was in New Orleans.
Oh, that's dope.
And so, I grew up like everybody else, like a WWE fan. I loved it. And so to get a chance and opportunity to work with them for that period of time, I had a lot of other things going on. But I tell guys, man, if you don't have things lined up, get lined up when you're playing, but also play as long as you possibly can. That you don't compromise your body and your well-being, but play as long as you can.
For sure. Were there any injuries you sustained that you still feel to this day?
No, not really.
Oh, okay,
no,
that's
really.
good.
Yeah, I still, because I'm in the MMA business, in the fight business. I still train with a lot of guys. I'm at Dragon's Lair 4 or 5 days a week. I'm at Extreme Couture 3 days a week. So my body, because I take care of my body, I feel great. But I don't feel great enough to go out there and produce on the field the way I did. Once you have the injuries and stuff like that, your body just started to go and you can't sustain. I couldn't sustain the entire training camp. My body wouldn't hold up through an entire training camp.
It would just shut down?
It would just shut down. I would have a hip, a back, a knee, a shoulder. My body would break down over that course of a month in training camp. I couldn't do that.
I saw you say on a podcast that the Raiders have the worst fan base. Now, I'm a Giants fan. So do you really think they're worse than the Eagles?
Yeah.
Because the Eagles are known to be,
Oh, listen. Anytime you got a jail, at your stadium, I would say this about the Eagles: they are tough to be there when they're playing their rivalries. I think the reason why I say the Raiders, because the Chargers fans and Raiders fans, they hated each other so much. So I seen the worst of the worst, right? Yeah. Especially me coming there, I talk a lot of shit. I'm going back and forth with fans on social media, I'm that person, right? I'm the villain walking in there.
Yeah.
And I think with the Eagles, it wasn't a rivalry there, but the Eagles are definitely close second.
Okay,
for sure.
I'll take that. And rookie year, what was your mindset? Were you intimidated? Were you excited? Where were you at?
To be honest, man, when I came in, because first of all, you come into the locker room with 4 potential Hall of Famers, right?
Right.
LT in the Hall of Fame, Gates, Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers, Lorenzo Neal. I mean, you're walking in with these Hall of Fame caliber guys, probably 5 different guys that could potentially be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I was 20 years old when I got drafted. At the time, I think I was the youngest, if not one of the youngest drafted ever to the NFL. But I was already living beyond my years because everybody else I was around was older than me. And so I didn't come in the locker room with this rookie attitude.
You were used to it.
Yeah, I was used to it. In fact, by the fourth or fifth game of the year, I was breaking the team down.
What do you mean?
The end of the game, the huddle right before you go out.
Yeah.
You get in the middle, you hype everybody up, and you get.
Oh, you were doing that?
Yeah, my rookie year.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, because it was one of those roles that was fitting for me, right? I always looked at, you got your team captain, you got your spiritual guys, and you got all these guys, and there go the fire starter, him, right? He's gonna get everybody going, and that's the kind of role that I took in playing. That was it.
Nice. You had a leadership role very early on.
Yeah,
you were the guy early on.
Yeah.
And from there, what was it like throughout the years?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, and I just got off Fox Sports and they asked me about this. We're talking about teams that never won a Super Bowl, right?
Right.
And they asked me on when I was on the radio, and because we didn't win a Super Bowl in 2006, we had the most in my opinion, the most dominant team of the decade.
Really?
Yeah, when we went 14-2. And I'm not trying to be biased. I mean, I think there's a good amount of people to say, hey, this team, this 06 Chargers team, was probably the best team to ever not win a Super Bowl.
Wow, that's crazy. What caused you guys to lose that year?
Well, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. So we had to go through all those guys to get there. But more importantly, man, I think that we just didn't realize the moment. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of us was young, and when you're young and you're that good in your head, you automatically think you can do this anytime you want.
Yeah.
Right? We can. All right, fine. We'll get back to next year. We'll get back to next year, and so it became the playoffs in 06. Then when it came the AFC Championship game in 07, another championship, back to back. So in your head, you're like, we're good. We can do this every year. We're getting one at some point. And I don't think that we just capitalized on, those type of teams that we had at that time.
And there's so many unpredictables, injuries, coaching changes,
a lot of that.
firings.
Yeah. No, it was definitely a lot of that. We were hit with the injury bug. We walked in that 2007 championship game against the Patriots, and every one of us was hurt.
Really?
Oh yeah. I had a knee. Antonio Gates had a foot. Actually, Phillip Rivers was playing on a partially torn ACL that he had surgically scoped just to play in the game.
That's
LT
insane.
had a knee. His MCL was sprained. So we kind of walked in that game banged up, man. It was just bad timing.
God. Who do you remember as some people that were just really tough to stop?
That Patriots team, like during that course of like between 2006 to 2010,
Yeah.
like they were just, I don't think they were better than us on paper. Like they wasn't a better team for sure, but they knew how to win. Right? They didn't make any mistakes. Bill Belichick, coached the hell out of that team. So, we kept running up into them.
Yeah.
Right? They put us out of the playoffs in 2006. We lost the AFC Championship game in 2007. Then in 2008, we turned them around, and I think we had 08 or 09, we had the Steelers. So we just kept running into really, really good teams at the time with great quarterbacks.
Yeah, the Patriots one always fascinated me because they're not more athletic than the teams they beat, but they somehow just win. You know what I mean? Like their receivers are never as bouncy or whatever,
right?
But they just find a way to win.
And that was them. That was them through the course of that time in general. They're very well coached, and they just didn't make mistakes, man.
Yeah.
That's you look back at those teams now, and I hate like the the woulda coulda things.
Yeah.
Or somebody asked me like, do I regret anything? Like, no, I just wish we would have beat the Patriots. Like
a lot of teams wish that. So you're not the only one.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, when did you start getting into the fight business?
So I started to train. Jay Glazer from over at Fox Sports, he introduced me to Randy Couture. And so I started training with Randy first. My first day in the MMA gym working with him. And so I was like, I like this, right? I just had a passion for this sport, and then learning the discipline of it. I got really good with my hands. Being outside linebacker and pass rusher, I got really, really good with my hands.
Yeah.
And so I started to do it every offseason. And then I got better. And then at one point I was going to take a fight in 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, because I was seriously training by then.
Oh, nice.
And, I had a couple offers, but the money just wasn't there for me. And then because I had all this other stuff going on, like I'm over here, I got a great TV contract. I'm over here doing stuff with the WWE, and I had, stuff with Lights Out going on. And I'm like, if I'm going to throw down, if I'm going to fight, like it's going to have to be worth it, right? Because, I'll tell anybody this, like you can play basketball, you can play football, but you can't play fighting. Like it's just one of those things where you all the way in or you don't do it.
Right.
And so when I hear people like, oh, I'm going to go try to fight or go try to do this, like, no, you either fight or you don't fight, because that guy that's across from you, he's not playing around. This is not a game to him. He's coming here to, cause, physical harm to you.
Yeah. Your life's on the line, man.
Yep.
It's not a joke.
No, not at all. And we've seen some tragedies, man, with some athletes who trying to transition in the sport and, be knocked out. And I tell guys all the time, I say, look, because we're athletic, right? We got an athletic background. We've competed on the highest level. I said, when you get here, man, you have to switch your mentality when you're training to fight, because your strength and all that stuff plays very little part in you actually being good.
Yeah.
These guys have technique. They've been doing it for a long time. Their skill set is much higher than yours.
Yeah.
So you might be more athletic than them or stronger or faster, but ultimately they're going to have the advantage. So you go and dude, my first time with Randy Couture, like Randy was throwing my ass around. Like, just tossed me around, and I couldn't figure out how or why. And it just clicked over time as I got better. I was like, he was just on a whole different
He had
level.
experience.
A lot of experience, yeah.
Yeah. So with the Lights Out League, what's your plan there? Where do you see that going?
So we got a big fight in San Diego, August 26th, coming up at Casino Palma in San Diego. Tickets will be up by Monday at lightsoutxf.com. And we're on Fubo TV.
Okay.
Fubo Sports. So, what's cool about that is when you have a TV partner, right, it changes the ball game, because what do these fighters do? Same thing with me when I was a former player. I used to love Sunday night and Monday night football games, Thursday night. Like, I wanted to be on TV, right? You want a prime time. You want to be seen. That's what you want to do as an athlete. And so you have an opportunity to be seen on a platform like we have. Actually, our last fight, man, we broke into like the top 10, top 5, or top 5 most watched on football sport.
You serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, for us, that was cool because for me, I listen to the fans, right?
Yeah.
The fans will tell you if you got something great, or they'll tell you that you suck. And I think for me, ultimately, they just like the product. And these next up and coming guys, like we have at Lights Out, we have the next up and coming superstars of the sport. Like, and when we put together these fight cards, and I started to get around them through the weigh-ins, and a lot of them I know, but some of them I don't. And you can get around them right away because I've been around so many great athletes before in my life, and I'm like, he's going to be a star, or she's going to be a star one day, because they stick out from everybody else, right? The way they prepare, the way they go about their work, the way they go about their business, it's never any bullshit with them. Like, no excuses. Like, they're there to fight, right? And handle business. And I can tell that. So for me, it's the funnest part about that is being able to grow these guys who one day eventually going to be superstars in this sport.
Yeah, that's huge. Have you been approached by like Bellator or UFC or anyone yet?
I know all the guys. Scott Coker at Bellator. I worked with them for a short period of time. Don Davis, Peter, all these guys at PFL. I know them.
Yeah.
When I go to the UFC fights, I just was at the one at T-Mobile.
Yeah, I was there.
So that was huge.
Crazy.
And normally when I go to them, like sometime I'll go up there and I'll sit with Dana. When we was in San Diego, we sat together. And so I've been around the sport for 17 years.
Yeah.
I was like one of the few that before MMA started to become mainstream at all, I was at the fights, when there was like no weight class.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Those were the days.
Back when it was like, guys were fighting in gi and shoes, and you know what I mean? Like,
I saw the sumo wrestler one.
Yeah. And so I was going to those fights back then, before it became mainstream. So to see where the sport is now. And the crazy thing is this, like with us, we have so many like tech verticals coming, with AI. We have gloves now. You can measure speed, power, accuracy that I'm going to, introduce here probably in the next couple of months.
That's sick.
And just give fans live data, more engagement, because for us, we're not trying to be the UFC. We don't care. We're not trying to be like PFL, Bellator, anyone. And we feel like we have carved out a lane to be like an incubator for these other companies that's just trying to come up and do test trials in the tech space.
Yeah.
And metaverse, VR, XR. I mean, we're in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to look completely different as a company.
Wow. Because
of all these new things that we're adding.
Man, you're on top of the trends, man. I love it.
Well, you got to, man. And look, the fights are going to be the fights, right? Like, in my opinion, maybe one day somebody dethrone UFC. I don't think they ever will.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there'll be enough that's going to try it. We're not trying to do that, right? We love this space that we're in. And to be able to move around, maneuver, and pivot to these like creative ideas and do different things like this, I love that space.
Yeah,
of it.
That's huge. A lot of pro athletes go broke. You've seen them manage to just dominate even after retirement. What would you say separated you from everyone else?
I think I'm very when I lock into something, that's it. Right, and I don't get easily distracted by anything. Wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the gym, 6 days a week, and I'm just very organized and smart with my time and very efficient. I think that's what what makes me different than a lot of people in this space is that I have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of stuff, and people bring these ideas and all this great stuff, which is cool. And I'm like, no, man, I have these 3 things right here. I have to do it. And so I'm not even looking or talking to anyone else or even hearing other people's stuff until I get these 3 things done.
Wow.
And I think that's what separates me. And I've always been like that, even as a player, right? It's like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that until these 2 or 3 things are done. And so it allows me to execute everything that I'm doing. If I got something going, it's getting executed, it's getting done, and then I move on to the next thing.
So you're just locked in.
I'm always locked in.
Yeah.
7 days a week, man. I'm constantly locked in. You'll never get an out of the office reply on my email. That don't even exist. Or time that I'm saying, hey, I'm doing this, I'm not working today, or I'm not working at this moment. I mean, the only time I try to block out where I don't like people to really interrupt me is when I'm in the gym.
Okay.
But even then, man, I'll still send out a quick text or a quick email, or I'll answer the phone while I'm in the middle of the bench press. You know what I mean? Like, but no matter what, that's a minute phone call. I'm off and I'm back to it. So yeah, you're right. I'm constantly locked into everything that I do.
That's sick. And with football, would you say you were naturally talented at first, or was it a lot of work ethic?
It was both. But for me, especially when you get up to the NFL, but when you start young, your mentality is the most important thing. Athleticism and all that stuff, because I know a lot of guys who wasn't worth it athletically at all.
Really?
Right? But their mentality was scrappy. These guys would do anything. They'll jump over a pile. They'll hit you out of bed. Like, they were just scrappy. And a lot of those guys survived a lot longer than the people who were talented.
Wow.
Because their mentality and their approach, how they looked at everything, was just completely different.
Yeah.
And so I had that mentality, but I also had the athletic side to me, where it's like, okay, I wanted my mentality was these scrappy guys over here that would just do anything, right? They'll fight you all the way to the death. But I had the athleticism to back up my mentality. And that's what kind of separated me from a lot of other people when we played, because you get up to the level, dude. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day in a barber shop, and these guys were discussing, like, oh, such and such is a bum, right? They were talking about the second string quarterback. I forgot for which team. And I stopped him. I said, dude, listen, that second string quarterback or that second string linebacker or that second string defensive lineman is the most athletic guy you'll ever meet in your life. Probably the strongest guy, probably the, whatever. And when you get on that level, everybody's so good. But what starts to separate guys is their mentality and their approach to the game.
Yeah, it's so funny hearing just normal people saying, "Oh, that player's trash," when they're even worse.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. It's interesting to dive into the mindset of pro athletes and see, because there's some that just elevate past like the regular athletes.
Yeah, I mean, and like certain people are. First of all, you got to have discipline, right? Discipline is the key factor in everything.
Yeah.
You have to have that first. The second part of that is you have to be willing to sacrifice and do certain things that people won't do, right? When you're tired as hell in that fourth quarter, it's hot as hell outside, and you put your face mask and your helmet up in the air because you're trying to grasp for air. Ain't nothing there. You can't breathe. But you're able to go out and then make that one more play, right?
Yeah.
Make that one big play and suck it up and go out and do it. And that is what separate the average guy or average athlete to the ones that are your Pro Bowlers and your All Pros and your defensive rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, players of the year. Like, those guys, when you get to that level, are able to take their mind much further than the average human being or the average player that's on the field.
Yeah. Who is the best quarterback you played against?
People gonna think I'm hating, right? And I'm not. But I think Peyton Manning was the best quarterback.
Over Brady?
Over Brady.
Wow.
Personally. Like if I'm starting a team, I'm picking Peyton Manning over Tom Brady in a heartbeat.
Really?
Yeah. Because in my opinion, I think that when it came to a football player, the best quarterback, take the team aspects, take the rings, take all that stuff out. If you got this guy or that guy, I'm going with Peyton Manning. I think that he was capable of a lot more. I think that his way of the game, and his nickname was the General, right? Yeah. Peyton would come out and scan the whole field and call his own plays. And he was different when it came to that. He was built different. What made Tom the way he is his competitiveness. I played with Phillip. Phillip's the most competitive person I ever played with.
Phillip Rivers?
Yeah, Phillip Rivers. He's the most competitive person I played with. Tom Brady's the most competitive person I played against. And his will to compete and his approach and his preparation and his willingness to compete is what made Tom Brady who he is. But when you're talking about quarterbacks and skill set, Peyton Manning.
Wow. Yeah, that's a rare answer for sure, I feel like. Now there's a lot of trash talk in the NBA, but what about the NFL? Are people talking?
Oh, nonstop.
Really?
Yeah, no. I mean, I wasn't a big talker like that. You know, I talk with my helmet, my shoulder pads. But those two did a lot of talking.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you hear like the most ridiculous, disrespectful man. Like they don't go as crazy as they are now because they got cameras and microphones and stuff.
People are mic'd up now,
People
right?
are mic'd up all the time. So, but man, I mean, before it got that crazy, you would hear the craziest shit.
Really?
You know, guys talking about families and their wives and their kids, like people, all kind of shit.
I never knew that.
And yeah, it was pretty wild. It was pretty wild. But I think that when they started to introduce like all the tech stuff and the microphones and cameras,
yeah,
people toned it down a little bit.
What would you do if someone talked to you?
Depending on what position they play. I mean, can I get to them? You know, because there's a lot that can happen legally between a whistle. Right. And so I you know, first of all, guys, nobody really said a whole lot to me because I didn't talk back anyway. Yeah. But the other part of that is if they ever did do it, it's like, okay, cool. I see you around. You know, I'm gonna see you at some point.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll let that situation happen in, but you know, I never like looked at it do anything dirty to another guy. Yeah. I just I was never like that. I think that there's more than enough time between a whistle to do something to people if you wanted to.
Were there dirty players? Because I know NBA there's some.
Oh yeah. There's dirty. Yeah, on every team.
Like they're out to hurt you, right?
Yeah, they're on every team. But you know that going into the game.
Right.
Like when you watch film during the week and you're watching the whole season or a previous season, my guys, and you'll see somebody standing by the pile, right before right when the play is over, and then the offensive defensive lineman or linebacker, somebody come and take them right over the pile. The play is clearly over.
Yeah, I've seen guys do that.
Right, and so we're sitting around in the meeting room like, okay, 76, y'all watch out for 76, watch out for 64, and so you know that going into the game, which one of the guys is dirty.
Yeah, so Yeah, I feel like people know in the NBA too, for the most part. So do you have like scouting reports before the games where you know each player?
Oh, I would watch probably at least 4 hours of film a day.
A day?
Yeah.
Holy, even in the regular season?
Yeah, at least 4 hours of film.
Wow.
You come in, you'll watch maybe an hour or so, with the team, and then you'll come back in and you'll watch practice and you'll watch, the team again, and then when I go home, I'll watch another hour or two film. So all in all, you're getting at least 4 hours or close to it of film a day.
Wow, and that probably helped a lot with just planning out your strategy, right?
No, that was everything, because once you start knowing so much about a player, somebody else, it's a game then at that point,
right?
When you know how many times this guy's going to kick out before he tries to block you, or what his stance is before the play is, and if they're throwing the ball or running it, the game, and then they're looking around. It's 3rd and 7. The ball is on this hash yard on the right side. They're only going to run 3 plays out of this formation, and now that guy's standing up high. So you're looking at, this is everything that's going on in one play, and this is one play, not a series. Like one play, you're looking at down and distance. Okay, 3rd and 7. They're in this formation. Okay, they've run these 3 plays out of this formation. Now I'm looking at my guy and looking at his stance. Is he wide? Is his stance closed? Is his hand in the ground? Okay, so now out of these 3 plays, which one do they run? Which one do they run out of this formation, this down and distance? And by the way, his hand is in the ground.
Wow, you knew all that?
Oh yeah,
That's knew that. Crazy.
You knew that pre-snap. So now you got 1 or 2 plays they could possibly run. And so knowing that, you're going full steam ahead.
Wow.
You're going full steam ahead.
So that's when you see quarterbacks get sacked instantly. That's usually because they know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and and I had to, by the way, I had to learn how to watch film because I didn't. I was at first I would just kind of watch myself and how I played or whatnot. And when I learned how to watch film, I started watching everything. Play clock, down and distance. What quarter was it? How's that guy stands? What formation? And all these what we call pre-snap keys. You start knowing which 1 or 2 plays they're going to run out of this situation.
Wow, That's insane. I didn't know that much went into it. That's crazy. I want to touch up on the life insurance stuff before we wrap up. Guys like Patrick Bet-David, Shawne Mike have sold their companies for a lot of money. What made you want to get into the life insurance space?
Well, Shawne Mike was one of the ones who, because, you know, I was working with Family First Life. I am.
Oh, nice.
And so Shawne Mike, you know, I got introduced to him by a good friend of mine, Brad Alkison. And he introduced me to Shawne, and we had a very similar like thought process in business and in life. Mm-hmm. And you know, he's a pit bull, man. He you know, he likes to get after it, so I love that part of it too. But more importantly, man, I started to see like an upside in this insurance industry that I didn't know was there. And obviously, because I play ball, I have a big outreach. I started to build a massive agency and started helping all these other people making six-figure incomes. And it just happened that wasn't my plan. It was just like I realized the upside in the business, and I started to bring in the people I knew who wanted to make some extra money and take care of some families and build a business. Yeah. And so once I realized it worked for like the first 10 to 15 people, and I brought in another 10 to 15 people, I brought in another 10 to 15 people, and I just naturally, organically started growing the agency. And we're hiring. I have over 200 agents throughout the country that I work with. And you know, at this rate, I wouldn't put it past if I had a few thousand over the next year or two, because we have a system and a formula that's helping people change their lives.
That's insane. I like life insurance because you're providing a valuable product to someone too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Obviously the money's great. There's a lot of money in it, but there's not too many industries where you're helping somebody, right? Because life insurance is a necessity. It's not like a privilege. Like it's not like, hey, I might get some life insurance, I might not, right? If you got kids, you have a spouse, you got a family, you got to have life insurance. Yeah, you know, you got to find a way to afford it and figure it out. But you know, just this business alone, man, it became really fun for me. Because the other day I was actually before when I just pulled up, I was on the phone with an agent that I work with, and you know, he left his job. He was working at Verizon for some time. Never made anything or more than like $5,000 a month. He was struggling, behind on a bunch of stuff and going on. Now he's like looking for homes. Wow. He's looking at plots of land.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and this is within a year. Right?
That's nuts.
And so I think that, you know, when there's this much upside into a business, you got to look at it. And so, yeah, anybody out there that's listening, you want to work with me in life insurance, go to lightsoutagency.com or DM me on Instagram or something like that and reach out, man. I'd love to work with you.
Oh, yeah, man. Anything you want to close off with?
Yeah, we got a big fight coming up in San Diego, August 26th at Casino Palma. This is what's cool about it is this is my first event back in San Diego since I retired.
Oh, nice.
And so I was trying to get something down there for a long. That's home for me, right? Yeah. I mean, it's still my backyard. So yeah, Casino Palma is going to be lit August 26th. It'll be live on Fubo Sports, and we got 3 guys in this card that's already in the process of signing contender deals with the UFC. And so that part is really cool for me because these guys are going to be bona fide superstars. I know. Yeah. But to have them come and fight for us for Lights Out Extreme Fighting, it's really dope.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, definitely check it out. August 26th. Otherwise, see you guys next time.